everybody. I'm JD.
And I'm Gail.
And you're tuned into the Sneakee Bastards. On this day's show, we have a day in history.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to talk a little bit about Kamala's economic policies. We got to put some of that in there because of the DNC. The first day of the DNC was last night. And then we'll talk about the economy. Is the economy really as good as we think it is? So again, thanks for tuning in. Again, I'm JD.
And I'm Gail.
And we'll get right into it with this day in history. What do you got, Gail?
In 1945, a 17-year-old became the youngest to hit a home run in Major League Baseball. His name is Joe Nuxhall. In 1975, Viking 1 was launched to Mars to take and do the orbiting around Mars to take and check things out.
That's pretty cool. I'm glad we have a day in history because we all learn a little bit. And again, congratulations to Joe, 17 years old, hitting the first home run in the major leagues. That's quite an accomplishment. And quite an accomplishment was the DNC opening up the convention last night. And it was, I watched a little bit of it. I tried to stay up to watch Joe, but they kept pushing him back. And I guess he didn't speak till like 11:30 or so. I just couldn't stay up, especially to hear an old man just yelling and screaming. Oh, man, typical Joe. But, at least Kamala's got some great ideas, even though she's been in the administration for the last 3.5 years. She's coming out with her own economic policies, and one of them is raising the corporate tax rate from 21% to 28%. Now, she thinks this is a great idea, and matter of fact, there was a tweet on X that went out and kind of, suggested that the 28% tax rate might not be as good as they think it is, because what it says here, you can read it right there, is, it's going to come to a surprise to a lot of people that companies and corporations themselves, they do not pay taxes. Am I correct, Gail?
Correct. They may pay some taxes, but then they're offset as cost of doing business.
That's true. But a lot of people don't understand how businesses work, and that's what this tweet was talking about. The person that he was responding to was saying that it'd be great to have a higher, corporations ought to pay their fair share, whatever a fair share is. Correct. But people don't realize that in business, you when you're doing bookkeeping, you have two sides to the books. You have a column that's income, and that's the money that comes into the business. Selling a product, selling a service. That's income that comes into the business. And then on the other side, you have what are called the expenses, and that's all the money that leaves the company. That's like, what is it? Advertising, shipping. One of the biggest expenses is what, Gail?
Oh, is the cost of having an employee, their wages, insurance, health care, retirement.
Yep. Labor is one of the biggest expenses of a company, and the income has to be greater than the expenses, or else you don't have a company. You go under, you go broke.
Right.
But taxes, you have to decide now what side of the column. If you ran a business, where would you put taxes? Is that an expense or is that an income?
That's an expense.
And I think it's an expense. It's like when you pay your federal taxes at the end of the year, it leaves your checkbook.
If it leaves your checkbook, it's an expense.
Yeah. So how do companies? What happens when all of a sudden something on the expense side goes up like 7 or 8%? In other words, you have to pay 7 or 8% more this year than you did last year. If your income is staying the same, if the expense goes up, you're eventually going to go broke. So you have to find some way to offset that expense.
Correct.
And there's only a couple of ways you can do it. One of them is to increase your income, which means raise prices, or to decrease something on the expense side, like labor.
Like get rid of employees.
That's true.
Like Cisco just did. They got rid of 9,000 employees.
Yep. So people don't understand that raising corporate tax rates, again, companies don't pay the tax. They pass it on to you, the consumer. And that's what we have to learn. We have to, I think the best corporate tax rate is 0%. Any tax should be 0%. That would be the best tax rate. But even the Federal Reserve doesn't agree with the MMT economists or agree with Kamala. The Federal Reserve actually did a study on the corporate tax rate, and they came up with the optimal tax rate should be 10%. 10%. That would be considered maybe a fair tax. But now that Kamala wants to raise it back up to 28%, and I don't understand it because I thought the economy was booming.
Oh, yeah.
I thought we had low unemployment. Yeah, but now she wants to give money to new homeowners. She wants to give money to new mothers, or I'm sorry, people of birth or birthing people. Is that what they call them now instead of mothers? So Kamala wants to give all this money away because the economy is doing so well. What do you think about the economy? Is the economy doing good, Gail? I mean, you know.
No, just go to the grocery store. Gasoline is way up there. They're raising property tax. They're raising insurance. Everything's going up. It's not great.
And everything's going up. And one more thing that's going up is unemployment. That's been slowly creeping up, and we hear more and more news. Did you see some of the news that companies laying off people?
Oh, yeah. Like Cisco, Intel, Ford, Chrysler. Well,
yeah,
Chrysler's NVIDIA, whatever it's called.
The automotive industry is being hit bad. I mean, one of the companies that helps build the Ram Dodge, they just laid off 2,500 workers. I mean, that just this week. So the economy is not doing well, people. No matter what the government's lying to you. That's what we have to realize.
All the auto companies are saying that this fall they're preparing to produce 30% fewer vehicles.
That's a hit. People just aren't buying. The only part of the automotive industry that's really booming is the service departments. And that's because people are trying to keep their cars longer, their vehicles longer, because they can't afford to buy the new ones. I mean, the economy is not doing well. And if you want to vote for higher taxes, I mean, I wouldn't do it. But a lot of people seem to think that companies aren't paying their fair share, and people just don't know economics. And hopefully we can make a difference here on the Sneakee Bastards, because we cover everything: economics, politics.
They've never run a business.
Yeah. Makes a big difference.
You can't run in the negative. You have to make a profit or it isn't a business.
Yeah. And then trying to cap prices, that hasn't worked yet. No.
Well, the reason they're capping prices, FDR tried that stuff.
Yep.
And you can't cap prices. You cannot cap rent. You have to stop spending.
As a matter of fact, Argentina just got rid of the rent controls, and now rentals went up like 190% or something, and prices are coming down. It's like, they did away with the restrictions on rentals in Argentina, and they're just turning around their economy. I mean, their inflation is actually dropping. They actually have deflation, which is a good thing. So, again, it's not as good as you think it is, people. And if you think raising price or raising taxes is going to help us in any way, I'm sorry to tell you that numbers don't lie. There's laws of economics, just like the laws of gravity, and you got to obey them. What can I say? You got anything else to add before we call this a video?
My daddy told me one thing years ago. Figures don't lie, but liars will figure.
And the government does that. If you don't believe me, just check out all the times they revise the economic numbers. They'll come out one quarter and say, the economy's hot, and then the next quarter they say, we're going to revise the previous quarter, and it's actually a lot worse than we said it was. So government lies all the time.
And if elected, I promise.
That's it. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the Sneakee Bastards. And if you like this show, please give us a like, give us a little bit of love. And, maybe a comment, maybe share.
Mm-hmm.
And then hopefully we'll get you tuned in on the next show. I'm JD.
And I'm Gail.
And you've been listening to the Sneakee Bastards, and we'll hope to see you very soon. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
All righty. Bye-bye.